Hey, good afternoon. Or at least it's afternoon when I'm making this. Oh, Skitty, what? Skitty is upset you don't want to be on camera. Is that right? Anyway, um, she's got to go. She's got to claw me. Go back over there. All right. That was an idea anyway. Um, hey, I'm going to use this video, and it's going to take a little bit more time than almost all the other videos that I will be doing for you. But as we head into the beginning parts of the course, the things that are the groundwork with the AP curriculum actually will test you on. There are some things we have to cover. You had summer reading, which we're going to spend a bunch of time talking about over the next week or so. But I'm also going to be making use of John Green's crash courses to get you some background on some of the topics that used to be on the AP exam, but are no longer a part of the exam, but still part of the things that you need to know if you're going to do well in the class. So I think it's easy for a teacher to say, okay, hey, watch a video, and that's it. But that's not what we're going to do at all. We're going to interact with our videos, and they will be part of our discussions each week in the early going. You'll have a series of videos to watch and some associated work, which I'll get to at another point. So I thought I would model for you what I do when I'm watching Green. And if you've ever heard of John Green or watched his videos, you know he talks pretty fast, and that you have to be willing to use the pause button and the backup button in order to get what he's saying. But if your approach is going to be, I'm just, Mr. Pontoni said, watch a video, so I click and I watch a video, you're not going to get a lot out of it. So I have a video queued up, all of them, all the videos that you will be watching for me in this of this type will be through a program called Edpuzzle, and we'll spend some time learning. It's very simple, but all the links will come through Google Classroom. All the rest of it, I'm going to try and make this as easy as I can for you to find things and to get things done and know when they're due, etc. Well, I'll get to that another time. Any case, here's the video. I'm going to play it. I am going to pause and talk every once in a while about some things if need be. So here is a video that and we'll watch it together.
Hello, learned and astonishingly attractive pupils. My name is John Green, and I want to welcome you to Crash Course World History. Over the next 40 weeks together, we will learn how in a mere 15,000 years humans went from hunting and gathering. Mr. Green, is this going to be on the test? Yeah, about the test. The test will measure whether you are an informed, engaged, and productive citizen of the world, and it will take place in schools and bars and hospitals and dorm rooms and in places of worship. You will be tested on first dates, in job interviews, while watching football, and while scrolling through your Twitter feed. The test will judge your ability to think about things other than celebrity marriages, whether you'll be easily persuaded by empty political rhetoric, and whether you'll be able to place your life and your community in a broader context. The test will last your entire life, and it will be comprised of the millions of decisions that, when taken together, make your life yours. And everything will be on it. I know, right? So pay attention.
So right off the bat, Green delivers a message that every history teacher would like you to get. And in my approach to this class, it isn't about your ability to gather up and remember a bunch of facts and names and all the rest of it. But I do want you to think about your place in history, not just at this present time, but how it relates to people in the past and how it's likely to interact with people in the future. So it's a cool little opening. I like it a lot. And but you'll notice on my note sheet, I've got no notes. There's nothing there for me to take notes on. But I do have a sheet every time I watch a Green video to jot down things, A, that I think are really significant, and B, things that I need to look up. And so if I encounter something that I'm not familiar with, then I got to deal with it.
In a mere 15,000 years, humans went from hunting and gathering to creating such improbabilities as the airplane, the internet, and the 99-cent double cheeseburger. It's an extraordinary journey, one that I will now symbolize by embarking upon a journey of my own. Over to camera 2. Hi there, camera 2. It's me, John Green. Let's start with that double cheeseburger. Oh, food photography. So this hot hunk of meat contains 490 calories. To get this cheeseburger, you have to feed, raise, and slaughter cows, then grind their meat, then freeze it, and ship it to its destination. You also got to grow some wheat and then process the living crap out of it until it's whiter than Queen Elizabeth I. Then you got to milk some cows and turn their milk into cheese. And that's not even to mention the growing and pickling of cucumbers, or the sweetening of tomatoes, or the grinding of mustard seeds, etc. How in the sweet name of everything holy did we ever come to live in a world in which such a thing can even be created? And how is it possible that those 490 calories can be served to me for an amount of money that if I make the minimum wage here in the US, I can earn in 11 minutes? And most importantly, should I be delighted or alarmed to live in this strange world of relative abundance? Well, to answer that question, we're not going to be able to look strictly at history because there isn't a written record about a lot of these things. But thanks to archaeology and paleobiology, we can look deep into the past.
Paleobiology. I'm not sure I know what that word means. So on my sheet, I'm going to write it down. And when the video is over, I'm going to look it up because I want to know.
Let's go to the thought bubble. So 15,000 years ago, humans were foragers and hunters. Foraging meant gathering fruits, nuts, also wild grains and grasses. Hunting allowed for a more protein-rich diet, so long as you could find something with meat to kill. By far the best hunting gig in the prehistoric world, incidentally, was fishing, which is one of the reasons that if you look at the history of people populating the planet, we tended to run for the shore and then stay there.
All right, so again, in a quick video, it might be sometimes hard to capture some of the big points, but what Green is talking about are all these areas on the coast. Wherever people are gathering, they're gathering where there's water. And this is not a small point. This is a big point. And as we will see in next week's assignments, you will be learning a lot about civilizations that grew up along the water. So take some time when he pops up maps, take a look at them. This will become more significant later when we get into trade and some of the other things.
Marine life was A, abundant, and B, relatively unlikely to eat you. While we tend to think that the lives of foragers were nasty, brutish, and short, fossil evidence suggests that they actually had it pretty good. Their bones and...
Again, another quick stop. How many of you noticed the nasty, brutish, and short reference that Green makes here? And you also read Harmon for summer assignment. Again, this will be something that we'll either have already talked about by the time you watch this video or will be shortly afterwards. But nasty, brutish, and short is a pretty famous piece of political writing from a British philosopher named Hobbes. We'll get to him later in the year, where are images of people who lived before our modern times must have had it pretty rough. And Green and most historians since Hobbes think that's probably not really true.
Teeth are healthier than those of agriculturalists, and anthropologists who've studied the remaining forager peoples have noted that they actually spend a lot fewer hours working than the rest of us, and they spend more time on art, music, and storytelling. Also, if you believe the classic of anthropology, Nisa, they also have a lot more time for scoodly pooping. What? I call it scoodly pooping. I'm not going to apologize. It's worth noting that
All right, so within the Ed puzzle, you're going to get questions from time to time, and these are questions that will be recorded and sent to me to see if you're following along in the videos. And so this is the first one. Which group of early people were healthier, worked fewer hours, spent more time pursuing art? And I recall him saying hunters and gatherers. Also, he makes a reference to scoodly pooping. And we do, it is a history class, it's a college level history class. We will talk about sex from time to time and its role in society. And I'm hoping you all can handle that. He mentions Nisa's story. We will read Nisa Story. She's a relatively modern, I think 1970s woman from Botswana who lives much like the people of thousands of years ago. It's a pretty interesting anthropological study, and we'll be reading some of her stuff. And as you can see, I have a little red mark still there. All right. So we're going to put in hunters and gatherers, and we're going to send it on its way, and they will tell us if we got it correct or not, which we did. So here we go.
Noting that cultivation of crops seems to have arisen independently over the course of millennia in a number of places, from Africa to China to the Americas, using crops that naturally grew nearby: rice in Southeast Asia, maize in Mexico, potatoes in the Andes, wheat in the Fertile Crescent, yams in West Africa. People around the world began to abandon their foraging for agriculture. And since so many communities made this choice independently, it must have been a good choice, right? Even though it meant less music and scootily pooping. Thanks, Don.
You may have noticed that I was writing during some of that, and one of his major points in that last section was about the fact that agriculture didn't grow up in one single place, as we are sometimes told, but actually developed independently in lots of parts of the world. And so this question relates to that, and this is false. What? Isn't that interesting? I think there's a mistake in the questions, right? Things did develop independently. That's funny. I'll have to fix that. All right, here we go.
Thanks, Don Bubble. All right, to answer that question, let's take a look at the advantages and disadvantages of agriculture. Advantage: controllable food supply. You might have droughts or floods, but if you're growing the crops and breeding them to be hardier, you have a better chance of not starving. Disadvantage: in order to keep feeding people as the population grows, you have to radically change the environment of the planet. Advantage: especially if you grow grain, you can create a food surplus, which makes cities possible, and also the
So at this point on my notes, I have to stop, because advantages and disadvantages of agriculture seems like a pretty important topic. So I got to catch up. So an advantage that we're probably not going to starve, a disadvantage that we have to radically alter the environment. Got to get used to using your pause button and your back button if need be.
Specialization of labor. Like in the days before agriculture, everybody's job was foraging, and it took about 1,000 calories of work to create 1,000 calories of food. And it was impossible to create large population centers. But if you have a surplus, agriculture can support people not directly involved in the production of food. Like, for instance, tradespeople who can devote their lives to better farming equipment, which in turn makes it easier to produce more food more efficiently, which in time makes it possible for a corporation to turn a profit on this 99-cent double cheeseburger.
All right. So, again, this is a question about one of the advantages. The food surplus led to what among humans? And the top one is the correct answer. And agricultural surpluses, folks, super important. And you will see it come up over and over again. If you don't have enough extra food to feed people, then everybody's got to spend their time either growing food or gathering food. So the development of agricultural surplus is widely argued to be the most important development in human history.
This is delicious, by the way. It's actually terrible, and it's very cold. And I wish that I had not eaten it. I mean, can we just compare what I was promised to what I was delivered? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is not that. Some would say that large and complex agricultural communities that can support cities and eventually inexpensive meat sandwiches are not necessarily beneficial to the planet or even to its human inhabitants. Although that's a bit of a tough argument to make, coming to you as I am in a series of ones and zeros. Advantage: agriculture can be practiced all over the world, although in some cases it takes extensive manipulation of the environment, like, irrigation, controlled flooding, terracing, that kind of thing. Disadvantage: farming is hard. So hard, in fact, that one is tempted to claim ownership over other humans and then have them till the land on your behalf, which is the kind of non-ideal social order that tends to be associated with agricultural communities. So again, he's
giving you advantage, giving you disadvantage. The questions will try to emphasize that. And slavery is very clearly one of the things that developed out of agriculture.
So why did agriculture happen? Wait, I haven't talked about herders. Herders, man, always getting the short end of the stick. Herding is a really good and interesting alternative to foraging and agriculture. You domesticate some animals and then you take them on the road with you.
All right, so what is herding? Domesticated animals for food. Not bad, not bad. How about this? There we go. So herding, and we'll get to see how important that has been in some cultures.
The advantages of herding are obvious. First, you get to be a cowboy. Also, animals provide meat and milk, but they also help out with shelter because they can provide wool and leather. The downside is that you have to move around a lot because your herd always needs new grass, which makes it hard to build cities unless you are the Mongols.
All right, so a disadvantage of herding, they have to move around a lot. That sounds pretty good. And that's where we're going to go. And then his little thing about the Mongols, which you will get to see in practically all of his videos. The Mongols being one of the most successful civilizations ever, but some people wouldn't even call them a civilization because what they didn't do was build cities.
By the way, over the next 40 weeks, you will frequently hear generalizations followed by, unless you are the Mongols. But anyway, one of the main reasons herding only caught on in certain parts of the world is that there aren't that many animals that lend themselves to domestication. Like you have sheep, goats, cattle, pigs, horses, camels, donkeys, reindeer, water buffalo, yaks, all of which have something in common. They aren't native to the Americas. The only halfway useful herding animal native to the Americas is the llama. No, not that llama. 2 L's. Yes, that llama.
And what ancient part of the axis the most different was not the Americas. And of course, from your summer reading, you read this in Jared Diamond and Yali's question and the rest. So you should already be familiar with this idea that domesticatable animals were not spread evenly across the globe.
Most animals just don't work for domestication. Like hippos are large, which means they provide lots of meat, but unfortunately they like to eat people. Zebras are too ornery. Grizzlies have wild hearts that can't be broken. Elephants are awesome, but they take way too long to breed. Which reminds me, it's time for the open letter. Elegant. But first, let's see what the secret compartment has for me today. Oh, it's another double cheeseburger. Thanks, secret compartment. Just kidding. I don't thank you for this. An open letter to elephants. Hey, elephants, you're so cute and smart and awesome. Why you gotta be pregnant for 22 months? That's crazy. And then you only have 1 kid. If you were more like cows, you might have taken us over by now. Little did you know, but the greatest evolutionary advantage? Being useful to humans. Like here is a graph of cow population, and here is a graph of elephant population. Elephant, if you just inserted yourself into human life the way cows did, you could have used your power and intelligence to form secret elephant societies conspiring against the humans. And then you could have risen up and destroyed us and made an awesome elephant world with elephant cars and elephant planes. It would have been so great, but no, you gotta be pregnant for 22 months and then have just 1 kid. It's so annoying. Best wishes, John Green. Right, but back.
So within all of the silliness of that is a really important point, which I wrote down, that one of the advantages to any species is that we're useful to humans. If they're useful to humans, they get to stick around. If they aren't, they probably disappear.
To the agricultural revolution and why it occurred. Historians don't know for sure, of course, because there are no written records, but they love to make guesses. Maybe population pressure necessitated agriculture even though it was more work, or abundance gave people leisure to experiment with domestication, or planting originated as a fertility right, or, as some historians have argued, people needed to domesticate grains in order to produce more alcohol. Charles Darwin, like most 19th century scientists, believed agriculture was an accident, saying, "A wild and unusually good variety of native plant might attract the attention of some wise old savage." Off topic, but you will note in the coming weeks that the definition of savage tends to be Not me. Maybe the best theory is that there wasn't really an agricultural revolution at all, but that agriculture came out of an evolutionary desire to eat more. Like early hunter-gatherers knew that seeds germinate when planted, and when you find something that makes food, you want to do more of it. Unless it's just food, then you want to do less of it. I kind of want to spit it out. Oh, that's much better. So early farmers would find the most accessible forms of wheat and plant them and experiment with them, not because they were trying to start an agricultural revolution, because they were like, you know what would be awesome? More food. Like on this topic, we have evidence that more than 13,000 years ago, humans in southern Greece were domesticating snails. In the Frontby Cave, there's a huge pile of snail shells. Most of them are larger than current snails, suggesting that the people who ate them were selectively breeding them to be bigger and more nutritious. Snails make excellent domesticated food sources, by the way, because A, surprisingly caloric, B, they're easy to carry since they come with their own suitcases, and C, to imprison them, you just have to scratch a ditch around their living quarters. That's not really a revolution, that's just people trying to increase available calories.
All right, historians knew that more than 13,000 years ago, humans in southern Greece were domesticating snails to eat. That seems pretty true.
But one non-revolution leads to another, and pretty soon you have this, as far as the eye can see. Many historians also argue that without agriculture, we wouldn't have all the bad things that come with complex civilizations, like patriarchy, inequality, war, and unfortunately famine. And as far as the planet is concerned, agriculture has been a big loser. Without it, humans never would have changed the environment so much, building dams and clearing forests, and more recently, drilling for oil that we can turn into fertilizer. Many people made the choice for agriculture independently, but does that mean it was the right choice? Maybe so and maybe not, but regardless, we can't unmake that choice. And that's one of the reasons I think it's so important to study history. History reminds us that revolutions are not events so much as they're processes, that for tens of thousands of years, people have been making decisions that irrevocably shaped the world that we live in today. Just as today we're making subtle, irrevocable decisions that people of the future will remember as revolutions. Next week, we're going to journey to the Indus River Whoa, very fragile, our globe. Like the real globe. We're going to travel to the Indus River Valley. I'll see you then. Crash Course is produced and directed by Stan.
All right, I'm going to stop it there. So if you did this right, you had a chance to interact with some of the big points. You probably took some notes, or should have. And you get this idea that the agricultural revolution, which has brought us so much abundance, definitely had some downsides as well. And these are things that all year long, we're going to avoid the absolutes when we can, and we're going to look at the things that work and don't work and are positive and are negative, and we'll make some judgments. There are, and again, when you read your summer reading, you got exposed to a couple of those different ideas regarding agriculture. Now, first extra credit of the year. On John Green's laptop, it says, "This machine kills fascists." Where does that come from? I'll post a little thing on Google Classroom, and the first person in each hour that figures it out can get some extra credit. All right, that's it. That's how we watch John Green. We pause, we answer questions, we take notes, and we're ready to discuss. Hope this was useful. Sorry the cat wouldn't stick with me for the whole thing.